Hey everybody, we're doing something a little bit different today. This video came at the suggestion of one of my customers. And the idea was that I would show you how I actually pack miniatures. And the reason he suggested this is because he's a customer that I've dealt with a lot. I've sent a lot of miniatures, small and large, plastic, resin, metal. And we've had, I think, maybe one problem in all of that time, and I guess since he's dealt with other people and has had other problems, he thought that I packed my stuff well enough that it was worth a video. And my initial reaction was, I don't think that'd be that interesting. But then I really thought about it, and I've packed a lot of minis, and I have a specific way that I go about it, and I really do have very few problems. So maybe it would be worthwhile to sort of share that with you. And so this isn't even just if you're going to be shipping it to a customer across country, but what if you're moving and you have a ton of minis but not enough cases to put them all in? This would work for that as well. Or maybe this is not so good a method if you need to take a bunch of minis to a convention, for example, because getting them out and putting them back in and getting them out and putting them back in would be kind of a pain in the butt. So really think of this as I just need to move these from one place to another, whether that's through the mail or because you're changing location, something like that. Something that's a kind of a one-time thing. This is the way to do it. So let's get started. Okay, so the secret sauce to my shipping method is shrink wrap. And this is stuff that you can buy, well, I usually buy it at my local Staples, but I think I got this particular roll at Home Depot. So at a DIY shop or any place where you buy shipping supplies, you're going to find this. And this is really normally meant for bundling packages together, like if you're going to put them on a pallet. But I use this for shipping. And so let me just give you the basic overview here. So I've got one mini here. This is a Hero Forge mini done in their new black. It's the new black plastic that is not as good as the ultra high res frosted, but higher detail than the other plastics that are sort of below that in quality. So not too much to deal with here in terms of worrying about breakage, but it does have a sword sticking out there that, could be worrisome. And this is the only thing I need to ship in this package. So in that case, and at some point I need to get like a mount for this so that I can just pull it out on the roll. But I don't have that. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to wrap it in the wrap, and I'm going to kind of use the base as a guide. And the trick here is that you don't want to do it tight because the sword kind of sticks out there, and if you do it too tight, you're going to apply pressure to that, and that could break, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm just going to loosely roll it. Making sure that there's a lot of air in there, because we're essentially creating a cushion. There. And now that is pretty much ready to go. And this is probably the most simple thing. The thing to keep in mind with, especially for plastic minis, is the two things you need to worry about is breakage and scratching. You don't want to scratch the paint. The plastic takes care of that. And you don't want it to break. And so you need to essentially provide some impact resistance to this and make sure it's not going to bend at all. But with a simple small figure like this, I'm just going to put it in a small priority mailbox, and those are super sturdy and they generally don't get crushed. And so if I then fill that with a little bit of extra plastic and put that in there, this is going to be fine. And it's not going to break. It's not going to bend. It's going to be good. But I also have another order that I did, and this is a bunch of Malifaux figures. So most of them are kind of normal man-sized, but this one is, this is the Killjoy, and he's a little bit bigger, and he's got this really delicate piece hanging off. So the idea is basically the same. Put that away. But we're just going to pay special attention to that hook. And I think how I'm going to do that is I'm going to wrap, instead of going around the body, I'm going to go top to bottom to start with. And I'm going to let that hook sit out. And what's nice here is that I can maybe go slightly tighter right now because I don't really have to worry about this guy coming off the base, because I know how well situated he is on there. And the height of his head is higher than the hook or anything else I would need to worry about breaking off. So that's a good kind of anchor point between, you know, the rest of the model. So I go around that way, and then I'm going to roll it in such a way that I'm now encompassing that hook. And because I've got it sort of tight over the head, or tighter, never do it tight. Because I have it tighter over the head, this is going to provide a nice support for that hook. And then you can kind of look it over and see if, yeah, see that's not providing very much motion there. That will probably be safe. So then I'm going to go ahead and wrap the rest of these, and then we'll talk about packing them. But let's talk for a moment, like let's say you have something huge. This would be something of a nightmare to ship, because it's got a heavy wooden base, and the piece on top is resin, and so relatively brittle, and so the weight of this base could easily destroy the model on its own, right? So for example, were it to flip upside down, and just the weight of this base is going to crush the model. So that's an issue. But I actually made this modular so that it could easily be shipped if need be, but also because it makes it posable. But let's say it wasn't. Let's say that this was in a fixed position. Well, I think what I would do is I would fill between the legs with plastic. I'd probably just ball up some of this plastic, and enough in there to provide just some outward pressure, both this way and vertically, horizontally and vertically, so that the model had support in that direction. Then I would wrap, here, I'll even do this, but I'm going to wrap around the base to start. And then I think the same thing as I would probably want to get some more plastic around like just balled up plastic on the external parts of the legs to kind of then provide some internal pressure. But then I'm going to go around it from the base and see how it's loose up top. It's tight around the base, but loose up top. And then if I continue around, and slowly work my way up around the model itself, continue up this way, and then go back around that way. And that whole thing provides a lot of stability. Now you still need to worry about the fact that you have so much weight on the base, and if this thing flips upside down, that can create an issue. And so in that case, when I was putting this in a box, I would probably put it in an oversized box with a lot of packing peanuts. And the packing peanuts are great for stuff like this because they disperse a lot of the pressure in a lot of different directions. They have some give, and they move a little bit, and they're not likely to cause problems. They help a lot. Air cushions like that or like this can be okay too. My problem with these, and I always worry that you know, once a certain amount of pressure is exerted on them, they don't have a lot of give. So that maybe not always the best thing to use. Although in this situation, now that I'm looking at this, I might actually take one of these, or 3 of these even, look at that, and then go around it with the plastic. And that'll provide your external support. But you can even see here, like, I don't know if you can see this, but as I do this, you can see that gun moves a little bit because it is putting pressure on it. But I think, again, if you're doing this, if you're wrapping it lightly and you're not doing it too hard, then maybe you don't have to worry about that. But that is really the issue, and the thing you kind of want to avoid is applying pressure to things that are likely to break. But let me finish wrapping up the rest of my Malifaux minis, and then we'll talk a little bit more about boxing. As you might imagine, I save pretty much every box that I get as long as it's in good shape, because you never know what you're going to need to ship and what size it's going to need to be. But when thinking about shipping something, I always try to find the smallest box that will work, because the smaller the box, the stronger the box. And aside from how you pack your minis, your biggest concern after it sort of leaves you is the box going to get damaged or crushed? Because obviously no packing job is going to matter, you know, if the thing gets run over or if it gets drop kicked across the warehouse. You know, all these things are potentially possible. So you want to limit the amount of damage that it can take by having your package be as strong as it can be. Now this is a nice Shapeways box. I've actually painted a handful of Hero Forge minis that all come from Shapeways. And as you can see, the models fit in there quite nicely. Now, there's obviously also some space that I need to fill. And that could potentially be pillow. If I have enough bubble wrap, I actually prefer the bubble wrap to the pillows, because, you know, those pillows will tend to stiffen up kind of evenly when pressure is applied, and that just means that everything underneath them is going to get squished. With bubble wrap, it's more dispersed. So any downward pressure is going to kind of be dispersed a little bit better. But for something like this, I would prefer to just throw packing peanuts over it, because that really does seem to be the best method for making sure that your stuff doesn't get damaged. And in this case, I'm probably going to throw down a layer. I'm going to take these out, throw down a layer of packing peanuts, lay these in, and then throw another layer on top. If you have a situation where you have something that is really likely to get damaged, even if it's just some downward pressure or some pressure from the sides, I have sometimes taken spare bits of insulation foam and made supports. And so you can, for example, cut a piece that's, the exact dimension of this and fill that space. And then, you're going to get really good protection from the sides. And you can just create vertical supports as well, and that way you don't have to worry about it being crushed. But, obviously that's going to fill up some extra box space, and it's not normally necessary. But I have done that in the cases where I have something that I want to have a lot of packing peanuts around it to keep the pressure from being an issue. But that means it's in a quite larger box, and again, the larger the box, the less sturdy it is, and so I'll use this as a way to provide more protection for that. The only other thing I really want to point out is that for plastic miniatures like this, shipping is super easy, because they're so light, they're not going to try to damage each other. If you're in a situation where you have a lot of metal minis, I would recommend layering them. So for example, let's say I had this, but I had twice as many and they were all metal. Well, if you bunch them all up, the combined weight of them is going to start pressing on one another. And so what I would probably want to do then is a layer of packing peanuts, a layer of minis, a layer of packing peanuts, a layer of minis. And again, that's going to help disperse the weight some. And then the other thing is you just want to make sure that, like, once you have it all boxed up, I tend to do a little shake test when I'm all done. And just, if I hear anything moving, I might go in and take another look and see if I can make it a little better. Again, with plastic minis, that's not really an issue, but with metal minis, it really is. And you really want to keep them from moving at all, because that motion could translate into damage in the shipping process. But that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments and I will answer any questions that you might have. I have been doing this for several years now, well, really longer than that, but I've sort of kind of codified my process over the last several years, and it does seem to work really well. So take that for what it's worth. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and definitely if you found this useful and want to help out, click like, and if you aren't a subscriber yet, think about subscribing. I sometimes do weird videos like this, but mostly it's more mundane miniature related stuff. But that's going to do it for now, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.